Congressman, on the campaign trail, Donald Trump tried to push this narrative. Of course, it was false because it's Donald Trump, that in his first term, sure, there was chaos, sure, there were the mean tweets, sure, there was problems every day, but at least the economy was good. Now, the economy was serving billionaires, and it was only good because of President Obama, but he was saying that that was going to be the case again in this second term. Neither of those things are true. Right. We have the chaos back, and the economy is terrible. And of course, the chaos that I'm talking about specifically, because there is so much, is apparently Pete Hegseth doesn't understand how a signal chat works. Right. And we saw a little bit of hypocrisy from him in a clip that I want to check out right here.
Under the previous administration, we looked like fools. Not anymore. President Trump has reestablished American leadership.
Pete Hegseth thinks we look like fools. What does that make us now?
No, first of all, Pete Hegseth is an idiot. He's dangerous. What they're doing and what he's doing now, trying to explain away, essentially talking about our national war plans and our national secrets on an unsecure signal chain, is incredibly disturbing. And it wasn't just Hegseth. It was Marco Rubio. It was Tulsi Gabbard, who's obviously in charge of national intelligence. It was national security personnel. That just doesn't happen. You don't have those discussions over an unsecure system that is not being monitored by the government and that isn't going through all of those classified kind of top secret checks and balances. And so for the Secretary of Defense to try to say this wasn't an issue, I think he should resign. I mean, he should resign immediately over what happened, not just in this instance, but his horrible management of the Department of Defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just that he should resign. It seems like he broke the law. I know we don't have all of the powers we might if we are in the majority, but what is Congress going to be doing to, one, investigate and hold these folks accountable? I was going to say these leaders, they're not leaders, but what are we going to do to hold them accountable?
Look, at the end of the day, the only person that could force him to resign is going to be Donald Trump. Yeah. But we can put the pressure on him. We're doing it now. I mean, we've demanded him appear in front of multiple committees. We're asking for these documents to essentially be frozen so that they're not eliminated or deleted. Yeah. There's already communication happening to obviously the Atlantic and the editor and reporter that reported all this information. So there's a lot happening, but the American public has got to be made aware that these are dangerous people with little to no experience. Clearly, they can't even communicate secrets in the way that's appropriate, and they could have put American lives in danger, and that's, I think, what's the most heinous about what happened.
I thought this was the pro-peace president, and we're going to stop the war. Did that change? And I also have to say, how surprised are you that the biggest technological fuck-up of this administration wasn't Elon Musk? Somehow it was Pete Hegseth. I don't know how that happened, but it's not the only surprise that it's just we're shocked by what's happening in the administration. It seems like Donald Trump is shocked by the steps he's taking to violate the Constitution, attack our government agencies, and we actually see that right here.
Get it done. Today we take a very historic action that was 45 years in the making. In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all. And it sounds strange, doesn't it? Department of Education, we're going to eliminate it, and everybody...
Sounds strange. It sounds even strange to Donald Trump. How does it sound to you as a former educator?
I mean, it sounds first like this man knows nothing about what the department actually does.
Yep.
So to be really clear, the department is the single largest source of funds for students and children with disabilities in classrooms. No one does more than the Department of Education, manage student loans. They manage research on how we actually create a better educated workforce in this country. They also manage all of kind of the programs that ensures that the civil rights of students are actually upheld in red states or in places where perhaps it's not a priority for the governor or the government. One thing that's really important, Donald Trump says, well, we're going to take the money or the resources that we're sending to school districts directly to help students with disabilities, and we're going to send them instead to the states. The reason that's bullshit is because we know that many states across the country, particularly with Republican governors, are actually not going to do that. They're going to take whatever they get, which won't be a full cost recovery, and they'll send it to not just public schools, but to private schools. Private schools don't do, usually, special education or education with people or children with disabilities. And so instead, the public schools will have to cover costs, classrooms will be overburdened, and the losers here are going to be children and students that actually have a disability, that have a need for specialized treatment that is oftentimes more expensive to cover. Teachers will suffer and families will suffer. So it's cruel, it's unconstitutional, and we're fighting it in the courts.
Now, Donald Trump finished that clip, and we're not listening to any more of it because I'm not going to listen to any more of Donald Trump, but he finished that clip by saying, and everybody wants this. Republicans want it, Democrats want it, independents want it. We have seen tours across this country spurred on by the anger from not just Democrats and independents, but Republicans. We see AOC, Bernie is out there. I heard that you are also going to be going to different districts with talking to Republicans, independents, Democrats, of course. But what have you heard from your constituents about these cuts to the Department of Education, about Donald Trump's assault on our Constitution?
Nobody wants it.
Nobody wants it.
There's not one. I mean, even Republicans have no idea what he's doing. And kids and children with disabilities have parents that are Democrats, Republicans, non-political, independents. So everyone is going to feel this impact. And they may not be feeling it today, but they're going to feel it a year from now. And so I think what parents need to know is that if you have a child with a disability, you are going to be impacted by this decision in a big way. And your child is going to have more students in their classroom, less direct support, and that teacher's going to be overburdened. And so there's a lot of really horrible things that are going to happen just because of this one horrific action. Teachers across the country are horrified. Parents are horrified by what's going on. And yes, I mean, those of us that are able, we should be going to these Republican districts.
Yeah.
I'm doing that and having town halls in Republican districts where those members are unwilling to answer questions from their constituents.
Now, the last time that we spoke, just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the message that Democrats need to deliver. Now, a couple of weeks in the Trump timeline feels like a million years, and now with this chaos and uncertainty over our national security, greater assaults on the Constitution and the judiciary, how is the framework for how Democrats need to message changed in your mind, or is it kind of the same?
I think we should be honestly listening to what Alexandria, what AOC is saying, what she and her message and what she's putting out in the community. I've told her this, and I think others in Congress agree. The message of it's working class people against the billionaires, and that they're rigging the system against working people. That is the message. And people should watch Alex's remarks at these rallies. They should see the excitement that people have in hearing that message. And I would also make the point that the people that are going to these rallies, they're not just progressive activists. Yeah. A lot of these folks are Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton voters. These are people that are just your neighbor, that's concerned, that maybe he's a Democrat, that maybe he's never been to a rally before, but they are pissed and angry at what's happening right now. And Democrats need to actually meet that energy. And I think that's something that I hope more people are realizing, that we have to fight back really tough. And I'm really proud of what she's doing, what Bernie's doing, as leading, particularly progressives, but everyone in this really attack that we need to launch into against billionaires and what they're doing. We should be pushing back every time they try to attack working class families.
I completely agree, and I know you're a busy guy, but I got one last question for you. Elon Musk said of those giant crowds of people who are furious, mainly with him, paid protesters.
I mean,
what do you say to that?
That's complete bullshit. That's not true. They don't pay a single person to be there. These people are coming out of their own free will. And he keeps saying, paid protesters are showing up to town halls. Nobody pays people to show up to your town halls, but they're unwilling to actually have town halls, and that's the issue. They're denying people the right to actually ask questions. So that's bullshit, of course.
Yeah, well, it's coming from Elon Musk, so we're not really surprised. Appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.